Good evening and welcome to Across the Arts. I am your host, Patrick D. McCoy, and I'm delighted to have two special guests for this installment of the Across the Arts, the Conversation series. I am extremely honored to have Thomas Colohan, who is the artistic director of the Master Chorale, Washington Master Chorale, and also composer and winner of the Florence Prize Commission competition, Mason Bynes. Good evening to both of you.
Good evening, Patrick.
Hi, great to see you.
It's great to
Yes,
be
indeed. I'm so honored. Now, Thomas, I must start with you. As we were talking before we got started officially, but I must share with the audience. I think this is the first time we're seeing each other before the pandemic, because I think the last time we saw each other was at the Kennedy Center. You were sitting behind me, and I went live on Facebook. Sorry, Kennedy Center, and you were sitting behind me, and that was at Theodore Thorpe's concert. That was the last
Right.
time I saw you.
Yeah, it was.
And
Yeah.
yeah, I want to take it back all the way to my teenage years. I hope you don't mind.
No,
Um,
it's fine.
I remember you, if I'm not mistaken, you founded a group called the James Rivers Singers.
I did. They're
And
25 years now. Yes.
yeah,
They're still
and
singing.
I remember one of my professors at Virginia State, even before I was a student, gave me a CD, and I want to say they were like Marian motets or
Yes,
something like that.
that's right. That's right.
Yeah. And that always stuck with me. And just to see how you've carried that legacy of Richmond forth to the excellence that you have here in our nation's capital, that is just truly amazing. So congratulations
Oh,
to
Patrick,
you.
thank you. It's very
And Mason, let me tell you something. When I heard your Dowling impressions, all I could think of was "Come again, sweet love doth true." But then I heard the guitar, and I was like, "Wait a minute!" That was an amazing treatment of that. So just your versatility and how you really could bring in a person who's not necessarily accustomed to classical music. That was just amazing. So, oh my goodness, I can't wait to delve in even further about you and your music. So, Tom, I want to start with you and ask you this concert, I Too Sing America. First of all, that's a powerful text.
Yeah.
I Too Sing America. I am the darker brother. They send me to eat in the kitchen when company comes, and I laugh and eat well and grow strong. That's a powerful,
Yes.
powerful text. So tell me, with all that being said, how did this concert come to be?
Well, I have to credit one of my great friends and a longtime the board chair of the Washington Master Chorale and one of our staunchest supporters. She's one of our co-founders, Diane Kresh. And what happened was quite straightforward in that, of course, we all experienced the horrendous murder of George Floyd in 2020. And I think this was, of course, everyone knows, we're experiencing now this sort of, it was a culture changing moment and a real, I think, awakening, and I think and for Black folks and white folks, but certainly I think for white folks, a sort of a real sort of waking up. And Diane called me within 2 or 3 days. It was shortly thereafter. And she said, Tom, we have to do something, but I don't know what to do, but we have to do something. I think we need to. And so we talked about what we could do. And she pledged a very generous gift. And I thought for a commission, she basically knew she wanted it to be a choral commission of some type. So that she knew that much. And then I said, well, I think for this, we could do a big giant commission and try to have a large work that tried to answer this, but that seemed impossible, basically. Like as we talked, it was all just sort of very organic. So what we came up with basically was this notion of a competition. And this way, the largest number of people would be affected. What became apparent during the call, and then as we continued to talk about it, was that we really wanted to try to make a real change, not just skim across the surface about this, that we really had to sort of shift a very important gear. And the Master Chorale is established to promote new works. That's the part of the essence of our mission. So this quickly turned into a 3-year, because we figured out that it was a wonderful gift, and we could do the initial funding gives us 3 years of commissions plus money for the administration of it. And then we were able to get matching money from the NEA. So this means it'll continue further. We'll see how long we can make it go on. But the next thing we did, and this was the thing I was grateful to my husband, who actually helped me sort this out. But we convened a panel of leading composers and conductors, Black composers and conductors, Adolphus Hailstork, Damian Jeter from the Pacific Northwest, the wonderful Dwala Simmons-Burke from Winston-Salem.
Yes.
Beautiful choirs, beautiful. And she was a long time a protege of Ronald Carter, rather. And then, of course, the wonderful and eminent Stanley Thurston, who is my colleague and friend. And I actually called Stanley first to help with this. And I really have to give him credit for helping me link up, because I knew that we did not know, as a group of white people, largely, Washington Master Chorale is kind of a white space, to be frank. We've had many people of color and wonderful Black Americans singing with us for many years, since the beginning. But I think this has been a real clear change, and we knew that we needed guidance and leadership from these folks. And we also didn't expect, I mean, I don't mind saying it online, that we needed to, I'm sorry about that. We needed to, as white people, we don't know the answers, right? And we can't, I'm sure the Black folks are kind of tired of explaining to white people the problem. So we decided to make this a consulting gig, right, basically. And this, from here, the resources, we've basically created this advisory panel, and this is now, I think, as I'm conceptualizing this, it's going to go on further and further, meaning this is a shift, and I'm continuing to advocate for employing Black American composers and lots of folks of color, but Black Americans of all stripes, conductors, composers, musicians, and asking for their advice as consultants. And so as a result, we're getting really rich answers. And the answers aren't always there. The team isn't always in agreement. The panel is, obviously not a monolith. And so that's been really rich and wonderful. And so we got this we came up with this program, and they helped us with the language. They helped us with where to place the call for scores and how to put the word out. And we had many submissions, a wonderful set of submissions the first year, and we've had almost double the number of submissions this year. So it's growing. We're getting more, hearing more from all over the country. It's been an incredible journey. And I have to say, we had just outstanding submissions. So many beautiful composers all over the country. But Mason's music just really stood out. It was incredible. So that's how we started it, and it's been quite a journey.
Well, let me stop and acknowledge and thank you for your transparency, because I think that's important. The fact that you acknowledge the lack of, I would say, consistent diversity in terms of people of color in classical music, and in particular choral music. So I want to thank you for that. Mason, the lady of the hour.
Yes.
I want to, first of all, wow, you carry a heavy mantle, because this commission competition is named after Florence Price. And I must be honest, I did not learn, like so many people, about the contributions and breadth of Florence Price until the pandemic happened, and people were caused to invest and learn more about composers of color, particularly women composers. Exactly. So just moving forward, tell me about the piece Dust Bowl. Tell me a little bit about that piece, and what were you thinking when you chose that text by Langston Hughes?
Sure. Well, first, I just have to say thank you to Thomas and everybody at the Washington Master Chorale and everyone on the advisory board for even considering me. This is a huge, huge, huge opportunity. Really grateful. I've always kind of known about Langston Hughes's poetry. My grandmother, Lillian McIntosh, I think she might be watching. She's an English teacher and her dog's name is Langston. So I definitely know a few poems. But when I was searching for text, so when Thomas and I had met, we were talking about just like the timeline of the piece and that it was going to be in October and autumn. So I was just kind of thinking through like themes there. And I came across Dust Bowl and it just really spoke to me and where I was in my life. I was in a like series of transformation, otherwise known as like a quarter life crisis, and just kind of asking myself, who am I? Where am I? What am I doing? And what does it mean to me? And just kind of reflecting on the parts of my life that have been really challenging to overcome and to figure out how to get myself to return to myself, return to my soul, return to my source, return to my land. And I think that also kind of aligns with the concept of fall. And if you think of Greek mythology with Persephone going to the underworld and all the vegetation going with her, we're kind of left with dust and nothingness in some way and like root vegetables. So, you know, that theme really, really, really hit me as far as just asking yourself, how do I maintain my resilience? How do I find the courage to come back to nothingness? How do I reclaim my space? And there were a lot of themes of that arising, especially now in the times that we find ourselves with this insanity happening in Palestine and Israel. So I really, really wanted to create a piece that gives peace, honestly. So that's the inspiration behind the text.
Wow. So I understand you're going to have a few more pieces programmed on the concert. Would you be willing to maybe discuss those?
Yes, and Thomas, let me know if I'm forgetting any.
Oh, sure. Well, and how about
Fun.
I could sort of give the frame. You know them all. Do you know them all? You know which you probably know them all. We're doing right.
Oh, if you want to give I thought you programmed it beautifully. If you'd like to share.
Yeah. So the idea was that I would frame. So the concert's in three parts. The first two parts will be before intermission, with Mason's music as the frame, and she's written some beautiful works, Incipient Sonority, sort of an early work, and then Epiphany Tide, which is it's a time of awakening, right? This is the second work, and this one, she was in Boston, which I'll let her speak to all the details of them. But in terms of how they sort of play out on the program, Epiphany Tide's about beginnings, right? About awakenings, and then I even had a friend once, a young man who had not ever was unchurched, and he said, "Oh, you sing at the Church of the Epiphany. Is that where you get all your good ideas?" And then Nebula, this piece Nebula, which is, about space, and space is so much about the beginnings of, things. Then in the middle section, we're doing works by sort of the great two deans of Black American composers, Adolphus Hailstork, of course, his songs of the Rubaiyat, and then on Omar Khayyam text, and then Robert Owens in Time of Silver Rain, his beautiful song cycle, along with two emerging composers, and we can talk about them later, but Ronald Walton, who is a Washington composer, and then Jasmine Barnes, who is writing a lot of incredible music right now. So they're kind of in the center, and then Mason's music starts, then intermission. Then we do Marcia McGuire's Wade in the Water, which is a sort of deep, and her new setting of this, which is really unbelievable. And I chose that spiritual intentionally in this arrangement, because then the text, God's going to trouble the water. Then we do Mason's three dialogues, and this is a tough piece. In fact, there's several tough pieces on the program, and there's a real discomfort in the texts, and it just was incredibly important to me that we try to absorb these texts, hear them, and then, as a wonderful friend of mine said, it's painful and uncomfortable, and everyone will feel it, but we're adolescents, like growing. And when one of my friends said, when you're adolescent, your knees hurt. And we're definitely an adolescent culture around these matters. And so this is a moment of growth for all of us. So that last piece, three dialogues, which I'll let Mason talk about, that's kind of we get to kind of the end of the program, and it's quite intense. And so then Dust Bowl is this wonderful balm, and it's like a choral meditation and so the premiere is at the end, and that's kind of how the program works.
Yeah, I'm flattered. Thank you so much for the way that you described those pieces. Oh my gosh.
Oh yes.
Yeah, but just to add, I think with Incipient Sonority, that text is from a really good friend of mine named Catherine I.W. Sparks, and she is the wife of Dr. Richard Sparks, who I sang with a lot at University of North Texas. And I wrote that piece for my senior recital, which is just really fun that it's still being performed, which is cool. But that introduces some handbells, and it just kind of sets the palette, cleanses everyone's palette, and talks about that ambient music that's in the air before musicians put it there, as she says. So lots of range of choral strengths, limits, all of those things. It should be a lot of fun.
Yeah. And then tell us about Epiphany Tide.
Oh, sure. Yes. So I love that one. I just wrote that with in collaboration with Emmanuel Music back in Boston with Ryan Turner, the artistic director. Lots of fun. And that one was in collaboration with a couple of other composers too. I believe Damien had written something for Emmanuel as well. But that, again, the text is from, and I might mess it up, but it's Isaiah 6, I believe, yeah. Yes. Arise and shine, for thy light has come, and the glory of the Lord is risen upon thee. And it's just this awakening, as Thomas was saying, just a light that is kind of shadowed in the key of E flat, I believe. E flat,
I think that's right.
And then it kind of goes through a lot of different transformation harmonically to show how that light is growing and growing towards the end.
And the thing that Mason, that you did that is so uncommon, so many of us in the choral field, that famous text, arise, shine, for thy light has come. It's been said many times, but you set, in addition to those 3 verses, you set 3 more, I think 2 or 3 more. You go on into the part of the text that rarely is said about how the dromedaries of Midian and like the camels, you'll be covered in camels. I mean, it's just the imagery in the following 3 are just so beautiful and rich. And you know, the abundance of the sea will be converted unto thee.
Yeah,
this is just so I was just so impressed that you went on, and it just gives the text even it's a beautiful text, of course, but it makes the work even more special.
Oh, well, thank you for that. He was, look, that text is rock and telling that everybody was coming to delight and Jesus is coming. So yeah, thank you for that. I thought it was important to kind of set up the imagery afterwards. So yeah.
Now, I think I watched Epiphany Tide on YouTube. You have that uploaded on there. I think I did. And you mentioned Emmanuel Music. Do you know Dana Whiteside?
I do. Yeah.
Yeah, he's a great singer. You know, I heard him years ago on a CD by Trinity Church, Boston, Copley Square. And so I always, you know, I'm always reminded of that, but I ran into him not too long ago in DC, but I know that he sings with that group a lot. So when you said I know that group.
Yeah. Well,
yes.
The final piece on the first set is Nebula, and it's a piece with electronics. Well, actually, there's 2 pieces on the program with electronics. It's the first time Master Chorale's ever going to do this. So, tell us a bit about that.
Yeah. That one is really fun. I wrote that when I was in my grad program at Boston with a great group of choral singers named Nightingale Vocal Ensemble. Yeah. And they're actually going to be recording that piece on their upcoming album, which is fun. But that one, that's when we were trying to figure out what to do during the pandemic. With choral arts, man, that was a tough time to figure out how to make concerts fun and engaging. And as a composer, I also write for film and TV, and I wanted to figure out a way to make it immersive and fun. So Nebula, the text comes from the definition of what a nebula is, and it's got some kind of quirky, cyborg, spacey kind of elements to it that make it fun. And there are some stacked thirds that the soprano and altos have that kind of give a little bit of Clark Sisters, a little bit. So
yeah, totally backup singer.
Yeah.
Yeah, backup singer moment. Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, and then the electronics comes from an electroacoustic piece I wrote called Pleiades. And that was all in post-production. And I did that for a recital called Goddess of Spring. It was actually based on Persephone and Demeter a couple years back. That one's fun too.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun.
So I mentioned a piece earlier, the Dialed Impression. So I want to play just a little bit of that so the audience could get a gist of your style. Well, some of your style, because you're so versatile.
Yes, indeed.
Let me share my screen. Let's see. You all bear with me. One thing about the pandemic is sure taught us that we were deficient in technology. So just bear with me.
Sure.
Let's see. Oh, here we go. All right. So just let's see. I think we're so. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Let's see. See, can we get this? The best laid plans.
Yes.
Right.
Well, Patrick, I can ask. I wanted to actually ask Mason while you're doing that. I can ask. I was sort of curious, Mason, if you would talk a little bit about the three dialogues. It's really because that piece is tough, and that's the first movement is really tough. The Bury Me in a Free Land, that text, and what struck me, and this was the thing that moved me so deeply. That moved me to put all this music on the program, and it was connected back. It's like with Jasmine's "I Too Sing America," the whole notion that Black Americans have been singing, like you've been singing all this time, and it's like a lane that hasn't been open, like largely in these sort of white spaces, and so it was profound. But I knew that also that we needed to more than just do that, open the door and start including and sharing the space. And this what struck me about this Bury Me in a Free Land, the first movement, is how painful and difficult and direct the texts are. And yet you write just the most beautiful music. It stirs the heart. And it struck me that how could you write angry music for this horrendous act of inhumanity, slavery? Like, what music could be angry enough for that? No music, I don't think, right? And this seemed to me to be a stroke of genius. This line, these beautiful lines and rich harmonies, while we sing these awful words. They're awful. And the chorus, even, I had to have a conversation with them before we did it. So I'm sort of curious how that came to you, and what happened?
Yeah, oh, you're so generous. Thank you.
Yeah.
That was a really tough one to write. That was in collaboration with the Philadelphia Chamber Music Society. I'm really grateful and want to give kudos to. The topic was heavy. That was a companion piece to Shauna Peblo's work too, in collaboration with Rhiannon Giddens. We're telling the stories of slaves that are memorialized on Cornell University's platform Freedom on the Move, where we had a look at these ads of people who reclaimed themselves, that theme of reclaiming yourself. So to add a little bit of humor, I was definitely like a singer-songwriter growing up. So I played all my songs on guitar and wrote my lyrics and stuff like that. So I love to bring worlds together. I love to bring different genres together because it brings people together. And with that, I think in my own life and the times that I faced death, or the times that I've faced really, really challenging situations, I return a lot to gospel music. I grew up singing a lot of gospel music, particularly gospel music was popping late 90s into the mid 2010s, gospel was rocking. And Kirk Franklin and Fred Hammond and Clark Sisters and just Yolanda Adams, The Battle Is Not Yours, It's the Lord's. Like all of those songs are songs that I return to when I am absolutely spent or I have nothing else to give and I have to give it to God. So I don't know if it's necessarily that there's a strict process. I'm just really emphatic about acknowledging what the pain and strife is and mining for where the joy might be also.
Yeah, it's amazing what you found. And I think the people are going to be moved because it is hard. It was just stunningly moving. And
Yeah.
again, we can't even, I had to sort of prep them. We had to have a conversation first, before we began singing all of the music. And again, this is also true, Patrick, about the I Too Sing America texts. That Langston Hughes text, and also CUNY. We're doing this William Waring CUNY from Harlem Renaissance. No Images, a very beautiful text, brief, about Ronald Walton. This is in Ronald Walton's pieces. But anyway, I just this door, you have opened a door that is so rich, and I can't thank you enough. And it feels like the beginning, which is just incredible. So.
Thank you. That's so kind of you. I'm very grateful to do this. Just awesome. Thank you.
Oh, absolutely.
So Mason, before I play the clip, I would be remiss if I didn't lead by your comments. You speaking about faith and laying into gospel music in difficult times. So I think that's the perfect segue. Could you maybe share with the audience? I'll let you share, but just basically, you had a rough incident that could have deterred you from your path, but you didn't let it. Could you maybe talk to the audience about that?
Sure. I'll be honest, it did deter me from this path, but I thank God for just keeping me on. When I was a freshman in college, I got into this insane car accident where I lost 2 fingers on my leg. And it was right before I took like the composition exam. It was right before I was going to test out of my piano classes. And it was devastating. I lost so many songs that I had written on the piano and guitar because I physically could not play them anymore. Oh. And then I had to go through physical therapy and just, emotional therapy and spiritual therapy, just like I had to reclaim myself in so many ways. And it was hard because but it was also facilitated through singing that healing. I was able to really lean into my singing and really rely on my voice, the way I'm listening, the different ways I could use my voice, signing up for opera that year. I had never done that, but sure, I was going to do it. And then I joined a jazz ensemble and I joined so many different groups and I was gigging a ton just to get my spirit back up and to figure out how to flex the other composing processes I had because I literally could not play anything that I was writing. That's why there are a lot of octaves in the left hand in a lot of my music because that's all I could play. But that process broke me, I will say, but it broke me open, I like to say, because it made my music and my process just so much more interesting because I really had to assess everything else I had to give. And it aggressively asked me, do you really want to be a musician? Do you really want to be a musician? Do you really want to write this music? And are there ways to stay curious about that composing? And it was really through singing that really helped me just get back to myself and imagine all kinds of songs, all kinds of possibilities. I'm just so grateful for the people that have given me a chance with my music because, I almost considered not going back and shifting my transferable skills to marketing. So I'm glad that I stayed with what I was doing. Yeah.
We're glad to.
So powerful. Oh my goodness. So to anybody out there who you're ready to give up, this is a testimony right here. Keep on going. Absolutely. So I think my technology is good now. Right. So let's see. All right. Can you all hear the sound? So Mason, I love that piece. So Dowling Impressions, what inspired, I'm assuming that we're speaking about John Dowling. And yeah. So what inspired, of all of the composers, what inspired you to do this take on Dowling?
Sting from the Police. Sting from the Police has set, I think it's Come Away, Come Sweet Love. And growing up, I listened to a whole lot of rock music too. My dad also listened to the Police when we were younger, and I had a CD in my car growing up. But I just love bringing genres together. I think it brings like a refresh kind of energy and spirit, especially to music of our past and, older pieces within our canon. And so with this one, I was noodling around on my own guitar, and it just all kind of locked. And I thought, oh, what if we made this like a rock show? Not really a rock show, it's like smooth jazz. Figuring out a way to make it fun and accessible to my friends like Hayes, the guitar player who's on that side, but classical singers like my friend Carly who's singing there, and bringing those worlds together. A lot of fun.
That's a bit, when I saw that, I'm gonna share a fact with you about me. Anybody who knows me know that my favorite singer of all singers is Kathleen Battle, the
Oh, come
soprano
on.
Kathleen
Yeah.
Battle.
Mhm.
And she has this recording with the classical guitarist Christopher Parkening,
Hmm.
as she does all of these pieces with him. And of course she does Come Away on that recording. So as soon as I saw that, I was like, oh my goodness, this is reminiscent of that. That's amazing. So I think we're almost at the end of our time together. So Tom, before we go, could you give us the particulars if we want to come to the concert on Sunday? Could you let the viewers know how can they do that?
Yes, it's going to be at the Church of the Epiphany, which is downtown, right near the White House, across from the Willard Hotel. And it's the white church with the red door. It's one of the few pre-Civil War churches in Washington, pre-Civil War structures left. It was actually a hospital during the Civil War. It's a very beautiful old building. Um, and the concert's at 5. Mason and I and Ronald Walton will be doing a pre-concert panel, an abridged version of what we just did beforehand in the sanctuary, and then concerts at 5 o'clock. And WashingtonMasterCrowd.org is where you go to get the tickets. We'd love to have you there. Everybody who's here today, thank you for coming and watching. And Patrick, I'm just so grateful to you for organizing this.
Well,
Yes.
thank you. I am looking forward to being there. Again, we have been speaking with Thomas Colohan, who is the artistic director of the Washington Master Chorale, and composer Mason Bynes, winner of the Florence Price Commission competition. I am just elated and so excited for you. Thank you so much for sharing about your music. And I must give a shout out in particular to Ronald Walton, who I've been following for quite a while. Talented musician, talented organist. He's actually subbed for me at St. John's. So
Oh,
he
marvelous.
just,
Yes. So
yeah,
we're
so he,
Yeah, and
yeah. So
we're doing two
and of
pieces
course,
of his, and they're premieres actually. It's a sketch, so he's writing a longer work actually. So these are just two movements. They're very brief, but the music was so good. I was like, oh, and he was Washingtonian. I was like, oh, we have to include Ronald. So
and then of course Jasmine Barnes, who I'm so excited for her. She's had several of her works performed by
Yes.
Baltimore Choral Arts, and she's
Mhm.
just amazing. So I am looking forward to this concert. And again, Tom, I can't thank you enough for amplifying
um,
these Black composers, especially these young composers who have so much to offer. I'm so excited. So again, everybody, if you're interested in the concert, it is the I Too Sing America concert by the Washington Master Chorale, featuring the works of Mason Bynes and Ronald Walton and Jasmine Barnes. And I'm sorry, Tom, who was the other composer?
so Adolphus Hailstork and Robert Owens, and then Marcia McGuire is a young woman. If I believe her geography. I think that's everybody. It's Marcia. She's on the program cover. Yeah, so Marcia. Yeah.
Okay, so how many of the composers will be there in person?
Oh, just Ronald and Mason, I think. Yes, Hailstork
Okay,
couldn't be there with us today. Robert
okay.
Owens will be with us in spirit. He's with the Lord now, right? He's there, right. He died
Oh,
2017.
Lord.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
And
again,
shout out to Jasmine Barnes. She's an incredible, incredible, incredible composer, and she's just as lovely. And her works are being
Yeah.
performed
Well,
everywhere. And I just have to give her flowers. She's incredible.
oh, thank
Really.
you. Yeah, we're super excited. We're actually working on a project for the future with her in Bethlehem Bach
Yay!
coming up.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a very exciting time.
and she's a wonderful lady of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority
Yes.
Incorporated.
Yeah, she is. Call it out. Yeah.
I had to give that shout out because I'm a brother of Alpha Phi Alpha, so that's my sister. So I had to give that shout out. So again, everybody, this has been Across the Arts. I'm your host, Patrick D. McCoy. Again, I'm sorry, Tom, what is the website for Washington
Oh,
Master
it's
Chorale?
just WashingtonMasterChorale.org. It's a long one. Yeah. Well,
So go to the website, WashingtonMasterChorale.org, where you can get your tickets for Sunday's concert, I Too Sing America. It is going to be a great program, and I'm so excited. Again, Mason, Congratulations. I look forward to meeting you in person. I will be there on Sunday. And again, Tom, again, thank you again so much for this concert. Again, I am Patrick B. McCoy, and thank you so much for tuning in. And again, please follow me on Facebook at Across the Arts with Patrick B. McCoy, and also subscribe to the YouTube channel by the same name. Thank you all so much.
Thank
You all hold on for a brief second.
Thank you.